the applications that cobots are ideal for paint, a very specific picture for where companies will find benefit in their utilization. Outside of these specific applications that we were mentioning, which seem to just continuously grow by the week at this point, what are the general benefits of automating with cobots? Why should companies consider automating with cobots in the first place? You mentioned the flexibility in deployment. But I
Mhm.
imagine there's quite a bit more. Am I right, Peter?
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's about keeping the production going when there's potentially lack of staff. And we're all aware that we certainly have a lack of of staff in Australia at the moment. People are crying out, whether it be for welders or for general manufacturing staff. There is definitely a shortage of staff, and so that's where a cobot can come and do some of the heavy lifting or the monotonous, boring tasks that you just can't get a person to do on a continuous basis. And so that's where it really does come into its own. Even things like machine tending. As I say, there's a lot more manufacturing coming back to Australia. So that could be CNC machining of parts. Now, rather than having a person standing at a machine waiting for it to finish a part, then take it out, put a new one in, that a cobot could be doing that process. And not only doing it for 8 hours a day, that can be doing it for 24 hours a day. Just load up magazines with your raw material, and the cobot can, and lights out, can stand there all day, all night, and feed the machine and take out the finished parts and stack it away. And that's where the benefits really do come into it. It's a game changer for a lot of small and medium manufacturers to be able to increase their productivity, increase the quality of the finished product, and get the products that they manufacture to their customers in a good time.
Right. So you had mentioned, I think, at the beginning of the podcast that cobots are such a great addition to the operations of small to medium manufacturers because of a variety of I guess barriers to entry that are removed with cobots. The flexibility of deployment, which is to say, you can use it for more than one application. The footprint that's being occupied, the ability for it to be collaborative. What are there any others that really speak to the benefit of a cobot?
The one of the other things is actually the total deployment in the first instance, or multiple applications, of course. Um, a lot of manufacturers of industrial robots at this point in time, as a function of the supply chain issues, whether it be computer chips, etc., they're struggling to get industrial robots. We are hearing from some manufacturers of 6 to 12 month delays. If they place an order today, they're not going to see that industrial robot for 6 to 12 months. Now, if somebody wants to spend some money today, they want to be able to get a result sooner rather than later, get that return on investment. One of the advantages with collaborative robots, certainly with our supplier Doosan, is that we can get to actual supply very quickly. Besides the stock that we keep ourselves, we know that we can get supply from Doosan very quickly. What that means for our customers is that we can put a project together, an application together, and have it actually deployed within their facility in the range of maybe 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, depends on the application. And that sort of turnaround is just unheard of when it comes to an industrial robotic application. So the benefit starts to flow to the manufacturer so much quicker. So that speed of deployment is a key element for the customer. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I assumed as such. What about the ease of programmability? Are these cobots easy to program? I've had the joy of seeing programming in action. Well, I don't know that it could be classified as programming because it's really suited for the layman, for people who aren't fluent engineers or who aren't engineers at all. Is that right?
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about collaborative robots. You don't need to have a degree in mechatronics or robotics or coding to be able to write a program for a collaborative robot. It means that our customers can have one of their own staff do the programming. It really is that simple. With a one-day training program that we offer, we can teach our customers how to program the robot to do quite complex tasks in a very simple way. It's really the teach pendant that we have that has a very good interface, a very intuitive, logical interface that allows a customer to see what they're doing, move the robot arm very easily, and put it into position, set the positions that it needs, that they want it to do, set different functions, whether it be open a gripper or close a gripper, etc. So in terms of programming, a customer can set a new program, develop a new program themselves in a matter of half an hour. They can actually have a new process in place. And then that process is saved and can be recalled at any time that they need to come back to do that same job. And that's really one of the big differences. Compare that to an industrial robot, for example, and we really, most customers don't have that skill within their own team to be able to write the code that's required. That means you're going to either employ somebody or call our technicians out, and it can take time. Whereas customers with a cobot, they can program it themselves and have that process operating very, very quickly.
And that programming requires no coding whatsoever, does it?
You can code if you want to, but it's not required. No, it's really is very intuitive, point and click type applications. So it doesn't need any coding requirements at all. It's just very simple process that anybody can be taught very quickly. That's the part that really impresses me. When I first got into collaborative robots, I was so amazed at how quickly you could program it compared to writing code. And I'm not a code writer, but I could see the benefits immediately with cobots.
I imagine that probably removes a bit of the barrier to entry as well, or a bit of the hesitancy that maybe manufacturers who don't have that team of engineers, or at least a team of engineers that have used cobot or have any cobot or robotics experience. I imagine that makes that conversation a little easier, wouldn't it?
Certainly, yes, yes. Especially when, as a part of the process that we always go through with our project installations is a training program for the customers' operators. We show them the setup that we're doing in the first place, but certainly train them on how to set their own programs, how to write their own, to program the cobot to do different functions. It's really vital that the customer feels, and the operators as well, not just the owner of the business, but the operators we believe they need to feel that this is a part of them. It's a workmate for them, and they need to have the confidence to be able to program it and not fear it. And that's the beauty of a collaborative robot. You don't have to fear it. And that it's part of that process of debunking the fear of robotics, that we show the operator how they can easily program it themselves. And that immediately empowers the operator to start looking for other applications as well. And often one installation at a particular facility leads to many other applications once the operators see, hey, boss, can we get another cobot to do that application? Or how about that application? Nobody wants to do that job. Why can't we get a cobot to do that? And that's the sort of flow-on effect that we often see with our customers.
Is it such that you can have, because we had mentioned earlier in the podcast that the end of arm tooling is really that thing that enables the application. If you had two end of arm tools, could you have two end of arm tools at the end on the end of a robot with like some sort of mechanism that quickly changes them depending on, maybe there's a really unique application that requires one gripper, and then in that same operating area it would benefit from having another gripper, to save you from having, two cobots, for instance?
Certainly, yes. With the on-robot end-of-arm tooling system that they have, you can actually fit two tools to the end of the arm. And so, for example, if you were doing a machine tending application, for example, one tool could be set to put the raw material, to grip the raw material to place it into a machine center, and the other end of the side of the tooling can be set to take out the finished part. And so in a single movement inside the machine tool, we can take the finished part and also place the raw material to do the next process. Which overall, it speeds up the overall process for the machining center, which improves productivity. So yes, that's one way to do it. Secondly, is because the cobot is easily redeployed to other applications, you also need to be able to change the tooling very quickly. And with the on-robot quick changing mechanism, we can very quickly change from, for example, a finger style gripper to a vacuum gripper with just a simple click clack. Take off one tool, click in the next tool. The robot will automatically sense that it's a different tool there and set the programming accordingly. So from a redeployment perspective within an operation, it's a very, very simple process. And that's another big benefit of the collaborative robot. It's easy to move around, easy to set up in a new process, easy to change the tools to suit the specific application that you need to do right now. And that's great.
That sounds great. So you can have two different tools on the same on the same arm,
Yes.
essentially. You can have one day where the cobot is doing surface finishing or
Mhm.
some sort of assembly process, and then the next day you can have it doing something else. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Completely different processes. So, as you say, a sanding disc on doing some sanding today, and then tomorrow it's got a screwdriver attachment on that's doing an assembly process, or you put a vacuum gripper on it and it's doing a pick and place function. So yes, it's highly adaptable, and that's the benefit as compared to, say, for example, a special purpose machinery or an industrial robot. It's typically set to do one specific process. Does it very well, but it's only going to do that one job. A cobot is closer to being a human. In other words, the human can actually do multiple functions, do one job today and do a different job tomorrow. Likewise, the cobot can be the same process. It'll do one job today, it'll do a different job tomorrow, and it's very easy to set up and get operational in a matter of minutes.